Yo, you wanted to try Manor Lords, but the game was just a little bit too complicated for you? Then I have a great opportunity for you, because I am going to show you in the very short guide how to get into it, how to make a big army, how to conquer entire land, and how to see your score and winning credits at the end of it. How we are going to do that? With stages. I am going to show you firstly how to start from absolute zero and how to get yourself into being owner of couple villages at the end. First things that you need to do is to cover up the basics. Your peasants needs food source of a firewood, and then place to work. To do that, I recommend setting up firstly a marketplace that will support at least 12 spaces for the stalls and then surround it with bargage plots. About sizes of the bargage plots, I do strongly recommend to make them only to support firstly one family and then with the possibility to be expanded further. I do not recommend setting them immediately to support an artisan places or workshop places, and this is because those bargages are going to be upgraded to the higher level first. On the third level they are going to provide twice as much living spaces, and because of that you want them to be assigned into your workforce, right? Rather immediately to become artisans. That might create personal shortages if you are going to, for example, assign all of them into being a blacksmith by building them a workshop, and then you will have to guess that maybe another families are going to work and live in different places. But all those are going to move into this place via workshop building are going to automatically become and stay blacksmiths forever. You have no more control over that. On top of that, the first thing that you should do is to build a logging camp. The logging camp provides you with the basic resource, being of course the timber, that is used for majority of the early game buildings. Those are, of course, bargage plots, storehouses, and granaries. If you are going to assign people to a granary and storehouse, they are going to provide you almost immediately with the resources stored in those to be sold in the food and common goods stalls. Those are important to supply majority of your bargages when your town is going to expand. After half of a year, your village should expand pretty quickly. You should get yourself a new villages, you should get yourself a sow pit, you should get yourself a production of the fuel for the homes, and you should get yourself a hunting camp, and even, if you are fast enough, a fisherman hut which will provide you with additional food resources. So, the other thing that you should remember at this stage is that you should still have some gold in your pockets. I would like to recommend you getting another oxen, so building a second hitching post. As you can see, I have 2 of those. For the reason of that, all the timber and all the logs, for example, to make planks from afterwards, need an oxen to transport. On top of that, every building that you are going to build also needs an logs at this stage, meaning that oxen is going to be needed to do at least 2 of those tasks at the same point. You should also consider building a church as soon as possible, because that will allow you to fulfill all the needs of your villages, and because of that, upgrading your bargage plots to a new level, it's going to be accessible. This is very important because they will generate a passive wealth. And at this moment, this is one of the major things that you are going to be keeping in your mind. So I do believe that right now is a good moment to address the thing about food resources on our map, because our village is very quickly expanding, and that means that we have to provide villagers with both different food sources and enough of food for them to survive. Let's take a look at our map and we can see that We have a wild animals rich deposit, we have rich deposit of stone, and the rest of those are just normal deposits with one shoal of fish, meaning that by default we are only presented with the choices for two sources of food. On top of that, to make the matters worse, the land is not fertile at all. We are unable to produce any type of bread by ourselves on a start, and we are not able at all to try to make ale with the resources that we are going to gather from this land. So what we are going to do? We are going to use our amassed wealth to both produce things locally and to import them. For that reason, I do recommend getting your hands onto some bargage plots outside of the city center that are going to produce in the workshop some passive food. For this time, I have chosen to provide eggs, but also alternatively, you could build a vegetable plots. Those that are even small are going to still provide you with a third food source. And that is going to immediately provide your villagers that are the nearest of a market with a new food supply. So the moment when I'm going to reach a tavern supply, so a production of ale, and I'm going to upgrade my church, I am going to be able to upgrade those to level 3. Okay, and one last thing that I have to tell you right now is that because, as you have seen, I am lacking a lot of resources and I have to buy them. And this is my Manor city. So what I'm going to do is that I am going to trade a lot. So I decided to buy all the upgrade points towards the better deals, which are decreasing the foreign transport costs and that are allowing me to establish a trade route much faster. So that means that I have to have much less wealth to do all the trading by myself and to import some things. For that reason, you should build a trading post. There are two things that you should know about it. Firstly, it has to be connected to a King's Road, which is the road that you can see on a map right there. It's quite easy to spot. And second thing that you should know is that you might meet yourself currently with an issue on which trading post tells you that it's not connected to a King's Road, even that it is built on that. I do recommend then to not panic, grab yourself a road button, right, and build the road from the starting point of the trading post to the King's Road. This will automatically solve all the issues with the connections. To put it simply, trading is not complicated in Manor Lords. You have to build a trading post. You have to have people assigned for the trade. You can then go into the trade tab and you are going to see all the resources divided into multiple categories. What is important on this tab is that you are going to be able to see the action, import, export and full trade, the amount that you can export and import, the costs of selling and buying, and the cost of establishing a trading route. What we are going to be interested in on a start is going to be importing the barley. As you can see, we can establish a trading route that I have set to import until we have 5 barley left. For that reason, I'm going to demonstrate that. And we are going to establish a trade route. That means that if there are going to be any merchants coming around, they are going to deliver some of the goods that we have requested. And our merchants are going to travel outside the town for the same reason. The other thing that we are going to be interested in is going to be trade of wooden parts. Wooden parts are the simplest export good to have if you have enough forest surrounding your area. To do that, you need an artisan. As you can see, this is a jointer workshop, and this person have a tab advanced. They are going to produce wooden parts until they are going to have 20 planks or less. Then they are going to simply stop. So we can navigate to the trade tab yet again. We can choose the crafting materials, and we would like to get ourselves into the export of wooden parts, and we would like to export all of them. So that means that the moment when there are going traders arriving into our trading point, they are going to get us 5 per every wooden part that we are going to manage to sell. That will bring us in a very, very high wealth, and the only thing that you have to worry about now is that you have surplus of planks, the one that you have set into a jointer workshop. Of course, you can change that accordingly depending on what your needs are. At this stage also you should already have majority of your baggages already at level 2, as you can see. And the reason for that is because you want to have as much passive wealth gain as it is possible. So right now I would like to invite you to look at our resources tab, and you can see that our regional wealth have risen by a lot. And the reason for that is because we are constantly producing wooden parts and we are selling them. That way you are able to boost your wealth much further. Other thing that you also can see on the screen is that I have decided to not yet spend any points in any places whatsoever. Reason for that is because I have not yet to decide what do I want to specialize my town in, rather than just buying and selling. So, the next step, after acquiring a substantial amount of regional wealth, is to tax that. For that reason, you have to build a manor, and then you can set the taxes. What I do recommend to do is to have a 1 quarter with a very high taxes and the second quarter with very small taxes. Reason for that is because you are going to get influx of new citizen in 1 quarter, and you are going to get yourself a very high amount of money in the next season. So, where the money comes from, that means that we are going to get 40% of a regional wealth the moment that the new quarter will start. The second thing that you may be concerned about is a surplus of food given to our church in return for influence, which is called tithe. That all depends on how much resources and how much food you have. As I have mentioned at the beginning, we know that our land is not very fertile, so that means that only by the end game we are going to get ourselves a substantial amount of food. The last thing that I would like to address about the stage of the game that we currently are is that we already have a baggage plots level 3, and right now you can exactly see why I have chosen those to be as small as possible with the possibility to expand, which I already have done. That is because they are going to double the amount of living spaces, as I have mentioned at the beginning. So I know that this place and I know that this place is going to provide me with only workers that are going to be unassigned families. So that means that whenever they are going to be needed, I can assign them to any place that I would like to do. So now comes the conclusion for what we have done all of those steps. Simply to acquire a lot of personal wealth, a treasury. This amount of money allows us to not spend a single resource towards our army, but to acquire all the mercenaries that we are going to even dream about having. And then, if there is need for that, and for example you would like to have yet more battles, then you could acquire them for more than 1 month, and then on top of that buy yourself more mercenaries. So, but then you could start thinking about, so what do we do about our personal army? There is always an option for that. So what I have chosen was to get my development points of my city into armor making and advanced armor making. With that things acquired, I am able to simply import for a very cheap prices a basic good, being an iron ore, see, as there, which then I'm going to make into iron slabs, and with help with my armor smiths, so artisans from my city, I'm going to be able to simply make them for a very much cheaper price than that would be buying already prepared armor for my people. And they are going to be more than capable militia because they are going to be fully clad in chainmail, and I'm going to provide them with weapons that are also going to be homemade. The other things that you may have already noticed is that I have decided myself to get a pasture with sheep. On top of that, I have spent a development point for the sheep breeding branch. The reason for that is because I'm able to get myself a butcher workshop, which is going to then butcher some of the sheep and provide me with meat and hides because of that reason. So I'm going to be sure that nobody is going to be hungry. To acquire sheep, you simply have to build livestock trading post and then make it buy or import or export, if you prefer, some sheep and lambs. Simply, that's it, what you need to do in the game, in the stage of having a medium town, to then be able to advance into a large town whenever there is need for that, and you are able to answer any kind of bandit attacks and any kind of attacks from other player, AI player currently, that is going to be able to be fully covered with only mercenary units that are going to instantly appear on the map once you are going to buy them. So what to do at this point? Well, simply expand further, expand your army, expand the variety of your resources, upgrade Oriole homes even further if this is possible, or if you want to do that, start a huge vegetable plots, and even because you may be able to, with the high influence that you are going to get, for example, by destroying bandit camps, or simply by fighting battles, you may expand into different regions, and you may grab yourself a second region, and this is going to be all by your choice to build another village, to then, for example, develop in the completely different way. Who knows if you are going to decide that this is going to become your main town next, and you are going to have a well-formed militia expanding from this place. Right now, the world is your cake, and you are the person that decides if you want to eat it with a fork or with a spoon. I hope that you are going to like Manor Lords because this is a game with a lot of potential, and I do wish you a pleasant gameplay.